My boyfriend broke up with me after his best friend convinced him to. The comments exploded. A male lead is so stupid. Doesn't he know his friends wants his boyfriend? My boyfriend Jake is the type who acts tough, but secretly loves attention. He complains that I'm too controlling, but deep down enjoys being taken care of. Until he stood me up for the 99th time to hang out with his friends. I was done managing his life. Just as I was about to send the breakup text, comments started appearing in front of my eyes. The main character is so dumb. Those friends keep dragging him out. Doesn't he wonder why they're all after his boyfriend? And he's not even protecting what's his? Exactly. When his boyfriend runs off with someone else, he'll have nowhere to cry. I was confused but posted now single on social media to test it. Immediately, my DMs exploded with messages when Jake stood me up for the 99th time. I didn't storm into their hangout spot like usual. I didn't call him 100 times demanding answers. Instead, I just liked the party video his friend posted. 3 years with Jake, and he always put his buddies first, especially his childhood friend Ryan, who dragged him out drinking every few days. We thought about this constantly. Jake would always say impatiently, "Alex, can you stop being so controlling? If Ryan and I had something going on, would it even be your turn?" His friends would mock me. Where did Jake find this hothead? We're all scared to hang out now. I wasn't trying to stop him from seeing Ryan. It's just that Jake has stomach problems and can't drink. Every time he got wasted, he'd end up in the hospital the next day. I'd have to drop everything at work to take care of him. My career stalled, and my family wasn't happy about it. But I loved Jake too much to break up. I kept trying to manage him, hoping he'd change. Until today, my birthday. We had dinner reservations, and I dressed up specially. I waited 4 hours at the restaurant. Nothing. I checked social media and saw Ryan's party video. Ryan was sitting on Jake's lap, and they were playing some drinking game. The crowd was cheering as they had to drink from each other's glasses. Before this would have made me furious. I would have stormed over and claimed my territory in front of everyone. But now I was just tired. You can't claim someone whose heart isn't with you. I sighed and liked the post. Then I opened Jake's profile to type a break pickup message. Suddenly, comments started flooding my vision. Don't break up. The main character is just playing hard to get. He actually wants you to check up on him. Yeah, he does it on purpose. It's like a controlling boyfriend king. He's waiting for you to come find him, so he can show off to his friends that someone cares. My fingers froze. Where were these comments coming from? I deleted everything I typed, and the comments celebrated, telling me to go make up with Jake. I felt hurt. Why should I? He stood me up on my birthday, left me waiting for 4 hours. I was the one being ignored. Why should I apologize? I ignored the comments and sadly finished my birthday cake alone. Jake didn't come home until the next morning, reeking of liquor and looking terrible. His stomach problems again? Usually I'd immediately fuss over him, find his medicine, get warm water, porridge to with his stomach. But now I didn't even look up. I just kept eating breakfast. Jake sat down, expecting service. As usual, where's mine? I replied casually by something downstairs. My cooking. Bloody awful anyway. For 3 years, I'd learned to cook for someone who never cooked. I made special meals for his stomach condition, only to hear him complain that my food was terrible, and takeout was better. Well, I'm done serving you. Jake was shocked by my response. He seemed angry, but took a deep breath and pulled out a fancy gift box. Throwing it on the table for you. Take it or leave it. Then he stormed to his room, slamming the door. A birthday gift? Too little, too late. I didn't even touch the box. After breakfast, I got dressed and left for work. If he thinks I'm too controlling, fine. I won't manage him anymore. For a whole week, I didn't check up on him. Strangely, Jake started acting weird. He kept reporting his whereabouts, sending photos as proof. I barely responded. Just a simple okay. One day after work, I found Jake's car parked outside my office. He was leaning against it. Okay. When he saw me, he immediately put out the cigarette and waited for me to approach. Come on, let's get dinner, he said casually, like he was doing me a favor. Every time we fought before, I was always the one apologizing first. This time, he actually came to find me. I got in the car. He took me to the club where he and his friends always hung out. When we entered the private room, his friends were unusually welcoming. Jake brought his boyfriend. Come sit here. Before, they'd mock Jake for being whipped and laugh at me for being controlling, like a nagging wife. I should have realized earlier. His friends didn't respect me because Jake didn't respect me. He probably talked trash about me to them. I found a random seat while Ryan called Jake to sit next to him. During dinner, someone poured Jake liquor. Usually I'd stop them, saying, I drink instead, because of his stomach. Tonight, I focused on my food and ignored their drinking. Jake held his glass, but barely drank, glancing at me like he was waiting for me to intervene. Never looked at him. He seemed annoyed and downed the whole glass. After dinner, his friends started mediating. Come on, forgive Jake. He's been driving us crazy this past week, constantly asking how to make up with you. He acts tough, but he really cares about you. I looked up with a fake smile. You're right. I was too controlling before. From now on, when he wants to drink and party with you guys, I won't interfere. Everyone heard the subtext. The room went quiet as I stood to leave. You guys have fun. I'm going home. The guy by the door immediately stood up to stop me, more anxious than Jake. Jake didn't move. His face was dark as he said coldly, let him go. Don't bother. Ryan tugged at his arm. Jake, just go apologize. You two still have to work things out. Jake snapped. Who wants to work things out? He's always starting drama. Someone else chimed in. Jake, are you really not going to try? You're breaking up? Jake straightened his neck defiantly. How could he bear to break up with? I'll give him one more chance. This time he's giving me a chance. Ryan added. Alex, just forgive Jake. You're the first person he's ever brought to meet us. He loves you. Just be more understanding. What right did Ryan have to say that? I laughed coldly. If you want to be understanding, you do it. I turned to Jake. My voice calm. Let's break up. I left, ignoring Jake's furious expression. Outside the club, I realized how remote this place was. No cars on the road, and ride-sharing apps showed a 30-minute wait. I crouched by the roadside as comments appeared. Again. Wait. I looked away for a second, and they broke up. What's wrong with this guy? No sense of romance. Sundara boyfriends are the best. Just apologize and make up. Why won't he just give in? So frustrating. I found it absurd and laughable. No sense of romance. He forgot my birthday to go drinking with friends. And I should apologize to him? After everything I'd sacrificed for him these 3 years? Dropping work to care for him when he was sick? If I didn't really love him, why would I bother managing his life? Just then, a luxury car stopped in front of me. I wondered, who drives a Mercedes for ride-sharing? Then the window rolled down to reveal a familiar face. Steven Song, one of Jake's friends from the group. I stared at the man behind the wheel. Steven Song. In the 3 years I had been dragged into Jake's chaotic orbit, Steven was the anomaly in their loud, obnoxious friend group. He was the guy who sat in the corner of the leather booths, nursing a single glass of whiskey, never participating in their crude jokes or the betting games they played with Jake's relationship. He had always been impeccably dressed, sharp-eyed, and quiet. Too quiet, I always thought, to be friends with someone as painfully loud as Ryan. Get in, Alex, Steven said. His voice was low, devoid of the mocking pity I was used to hearing from Jake's friends. I hesitated, the cold night wind biting through my thin jacket. Right on cue, the floating text in my vision, the bizarre phenomenon that had started a week ago, flared to life. Wait, who is this? A hidden character? He wasn't in the character intro. Damn, he drives a Maybach? I thought he was just an extra. Don't get in the car, MC. Jake is going to come chasing after you in the rain. It's a classic trope. I scoffed inwardly. Jake? Chasing after me? Jake wouldn't even walk to the kitchen to get his own water when his stomach was flaring up. I opened the door and slid into the passenger seat. The interior smelled like expensive leather and a faint, clean trace of cedar. The contrast between this serene environment and the suffocating, smoke-filled club I had just escaped was jarring. Address? Steven asked, putting the car in gear. Not my apartment, I said, my voice hoarse. If I went back to the place I shared with Jake, I'd just be sitting among the ghosts of our dead relationship. Can you drop me off at a hotel downtown? Any of them. Steven didn't pry. He didn't ask what happened, nor did he offer unsolicited advice like, he really loves you, just be patient, which was the group's favorite mantra. He just nodded, turning the heater up a few degrees. The silence in the car was heavy, but for the first time in years, it wasn't a silence I had to manage. With Jake, silence meant he was brooding, and it was my job to coax him out of it. Here, it was just peace. You left your coat at the club, Steven suddenly said, his eyes on the road. I was in a hurry to leave. At the next red light, Steven unbuckled his seatbelt, reached into the back seat, and pulled over a tailored cashmere overcoat. He draped it over my lap. It was heavy, warm, and smelled like him. Thank you, I muttered, pulling it closer. Wow, the side character is such a gentleman. Too bad he's not the male lead. The ML is supposed to be toxic and brooding. Yeah, MC is just using this guy to make Jake jealous. Watch, Jake will see them and pin MC against a wall. I closed my eyes, willing the ridiculous comments away. These readers, whoever or whatever they were utterly deranged. If they thought abuse and neglect were the hallmarks of a romantic lead, they needed therapy just as much as Jake did. I always thought you were too good for him, Steven said quietly as the hotel came into view. I opened my eyes, startled. What? Steven pulled into the roundabout of a high-end hotel, putting the car in park. He turned to look at me. His eyes were dark, intense, and surprisingly gentle. I watched you for 3 years, Alex. I watched you drop your life to cater to a boy who didn't know how to be a man. I never intervened because you seemed determined to make it work. But tonight, he paused, his jaw tightening. Tonight, I was glad you walked out. I didn't know what to say. To hear someone validate my exhaustion after years of being called controlling and a nag felt like a physical weight lifting off my chest. Thank you for the ride, Steven, I said softly. Take the coat, he insisted as I moved to hand it back. It's freezing. I'll get it back from you another time. Before I could protest, he handed me a sleek, matte black business card. If you need anything, a mover, a lawyer, or just someone to sit in silence with, call me. The next morning, I woke up in a crisp, white hotel bed. I checked my phone. 0 missed calls from Jake. 0 text messages. Instead, there was a group chat notification. Ryan had posted a picture at 3 a.m. It was a selfie of Ryan and Jake. Jake was passed out on Ryan's shoulder, his face flushed with alcohol. Ryan's caption read, "Taking care of this big baby. Some people just don't know how to handle him." In the past, my vision would have blurred with tears of rage. I would have drafted a dozen angry paragraphs, demanded Jake come home, and spent the next 3 days agonizing over his cold shoulder. Today, I felt nothing, just a profound, hollow boredom. I got out of bed, splashed water on my face, and made a plan. I waited until 10 a.m., knowing Jake and his friends would be dead to the world until at least 2 in the afternoon. I took a cab back to our shared apartment. The place was a monument to my sacrifices. The orthopedic mattress I bought for his back. The custom kitchen appliances I purchased to steam his stomach-friendly meals. The expensive blackout curtains I installed so his hangovers wouldn't be interrupted by the sun. I took none of it. I packed my clothes, my laptop, my documents, and a few books. 2 suitcases. That was all 3 years of my life amounted to. Before leaving, I walked into the kitchen. Sitting on the kitchen island was the velvet birthday gift box Jake had thrown at me a week ago. Out of sheer curiosity, I opened it. Inside was a silver watch. It was beautiful, undoubtedly expensive, but it was a Rolex Submariner, a massive, chunky diver's watch. I have wrists the size of a bird's. I wore delicate, minimalist leather strap watches because heavy metal irritated my skin, a fact I had mentioned to Jake dozens of times. More importantly, the Submariner was the exact watch Ryan had been loudly obsessing over on Instagram for the past 2 months. Jake hadn't bought this for me. He had bought it because Ryan liked it and it was just what was on his mind. I laughed, a dry, harsh sound. I took off my apartment key, placed it carefully on top of the velvet box, and walked out the door. Once I was on the street, I opened my phone. I went to Jake's contact. I didn't send a long, poetic goodbye. I didn't seek closure. You don't seek closure from a brick wall. Block contact. Block on Instagram. Block on Twitter. Then, I went to Ryan's contact. Block. I went through the entire friend group one by one. Block, block, block. When I reached Steven Song's name, my thumb hovered over the screen. I looked at the matte black card in my pocket. I hit add to favorites instead. Whoa, wait. MC actually blocked the ML. Is this real? Usually, they just change their number, but purposely let the ML's friends find them. This is a bold strategy to make the ML suffer. I love a good groveling arc. He's going to suffer so much before MC forgives him. I'm not going to forgive him, I thought to the floating words. Watch me. Jake's perspective, as observed through the system comments, that bled into Alex's vision over the next week. Update from the ML side. Jake woke up at noon. He saw the keys on the counter. He actually laughed out loud and told Ryan, Alex is throwing another tantrum. He packed a bag to scare me. Ryan told him not to worry, that MC would be crying at the door by tomorrow. Day 3. Jake's stomach is hurting. He ordered takeout but threw it up. He yelled at the walls, asking where Alex was. Day 5. Jake finally tried to call MC. He got the number unavailable tone. He broke his phone against the wall. Day 7. Jake is going insane. He went to MC's old company, but MC quit that job 2 days ago. He has no idea where MC is. The groveling has begun. I read the comments while sitting in my sleek new corner office. In the 3 years I was with Jake, my career as a financial consultant had stagnated. I was constantly leaving meetings early to deal with his emergencies. The day after I left him, I called my old mentor, apologized for my absence, and accepted a senior position at a rival firm that I had previously turned down because it required too much travel, which Jake hated. Now, I was thriving. I wore sharp suits, slept a full 8 hours, and didn't spend my evenings boiling ginger porridge. There was a knock on my glass door. Come in, I called out. The door opened, and Steven walked in. He looked breathtaking in a charcoal 3-piece suit, carrying 2 cups of artisan coffee. Over the past 2 weeks, Steven and I had developed an effortless routine. Since his investment firm handled the portfolio I was managing, we had legitimate reasons to interact. But those business meetings frequently bled into lunches, and lunches bled into dinners. I brought the quarterly reports, Stephen said, setting a folder down, followed by a cup of coffee. And an oat milk latte. Half sweet, no foam. Exactly how you like it. I smiled, feeling a genuine warmth spread through my chest. Jake had never once remembered my coffee order. He always brought me black coffee, which gave me acid reflux, and would say, "Just drink it. It puts hair on your chest." "You're a lifesaver, Stephen," I said, taking a sip. It was perfect. Stephen sat across from me, his eyes mapping my face. "You look well, Alex. You've lost that shadow under your eyes. Turns out, not being a full-time babysitter does wonders for the complexion." Stephen chuckled, a deep, resonant sound. But then his expression sobered. "I should warn you, Jake is spiraling. He's been interrogating the group, demanding to know if anyone has seen you. He even threatened to hire a private investigator." I stiffened. "Did you tell him?" "Of course not," Stephen said smoothly, his eyes flashing with a protective edge. "He doesn't deserve to breathe the same air as you, let alone know where you work. But Ryan has been whispering in his ear, telling him that you're probably seeing someone else to make him jealous. Jake is volatile right now." "Oh, the ML is going dark. Possessive ML incoming. He's going to lock MC up." I swiped my hand through the air, trying to dispel the annoying glowing text. "Let him be volatile," I said coldly. "He's nothing to me anymore." Stephen looked at me, a flicker of something intense crossing his features. He leaned forward, resting his forearms on my desk. "Are you free this Friday evening? There's an art exhibition opening downtown. No business. Just you and me." My heart did a strange, unfamiliar flutter. This wasn't a casual hangout. This was a man stating his intentions clearly. No games, no bro culture, no Ryan. "I'd love to," I said. Friday evening was a revelation. Stephen was the perfect companion. He listened when I spoke, engaged with my opinions, and physically shielded me from the crowded room without making a big show of it. After the gallery, he took me to a quiet, high-end French restaurant. "You know," I said, swirling my wine glass, "I used to think love had to be exhausting. That if you weren't fighting for it, it wasn't real." Stephen reached across the table, gently resting his hand over mine. His touch was warm and grounding. "That wasn't love, Alex. That was a hostage situation. You deserve to be cherished, not managed." The floating comments were going crazy. Wait. The second male lead is making a lot of sense. Is it just me, or is Stephen way better than Jake? No. Stop. The author is just testing us. Jake is the true ML. He has childhood trauma. I ignored them, entirely focused on the way Stephen's thumb traced the back of my hand. When we left the restaurant, it was raining. True to form, Stephen had an umbrella ready, holding it entirely over me, letting his own shoulder get soaked. We walked toward his car, the atmosphere thick with unspoken electricity. "Alex." The voice cut through the rain like a rusted knife. I stopped. Standing by a streetlight, completely drenched, looking like a drowned rat, was Jake. He looked terrible. He had lost weight, his cheekbones jutting out sharply. His clothes were rumpled, and his eyes were bloodshot. Beside him, holding an umbrella over him and looking utterly miserable, was Ryan. "Alex," Jake gasped, taking a step forward. He looked at me, then his eyes dropped to Stephen's hand, which was resting protectively on the small of my back. Jake's face twisted into a mask of pure, unadulterated rage. "So it's true," Jake snarled, his voice trembling. "You're fucking Stephen? This whole time. You were playing the victim, complaining about me hanging out with my friends, while you were whoring yourself out to one of them?" Before I could even process the audacity of his words, Stephen moved. He didn't shout. He didn't lose his temper. He simply handed me the umbrella, stepped forward, and delivered a swift, devastating right hook to Jake's jaw. The crack echoed down the empty street. Jake collapsed onto the wet pavement, groaning, blood instantly pooling in his mouth. Ryan shrieked. "Jake." "Oh my God, Stephen, are you crazy?" Stephen calmly pulled out a silk handkerchief from his pocket, wiped his knuckles, and tossed the fabric onto Jake's chest. He looked down at Jake like one would look at dog feces on their shoe. "If you ever speak to him like that again," Stephen said, his voice dropping to a terrifying, icy octave, "I won't just hit you. I will systematically destroy your family's company, strip you of your trust fund, and make sure you cannot afford the liquor you use to drown your pathetic existence. Do we understand each other, little boy?" Jake spat out blood, looking up at Stephen in sheer terror. He had never seen this side of Stephen. None of them had. Jake's eyes darted to me, pleading. "Alex, tell him we're together. I know you're just mad. I'm sorry about your birthday, okay? I'm sorry. Just come home. My stomach has been killing me. I haven't eaten a proper meal in weeks." OMG, he apologized. MC, forgive him. He's crying. Look at him. He's a broken puppy. Wait. Why am I getting the ick? He just called MC a whore, and now he's crying about his stomach. Yeah, Jake is actually kind of pathetic. The comments were finally catching up to reality. I looked down at the man I had spent 3 years agonizing over. I felt absolutely nothing. I don't care about your stomach, Jake, I said evenly. I don't care if you eat. I don't care if you drink yourself into the grave with Ryan. You are nothing to me. Do not look for me again. I turned my back on him, walking toward the passenger side of Steven's car. Steven opened the door for me, closed it firmly, and got into the driver's seat. As we drove away, I looked in the side mirror. Jake was on his knees in the rain, trying to push Ryan away as Ryan fussed over him. It was a pathetic, fitting picture. Over the next month, the readers in my vision completely changed their tune. I can't believe I used to ship Jake. He's literal trash. Steven is the greenest flag. Change the tags. This is a changing the male lead story. I had to agree with them. My relationship with Steven blossomed into something beautiful and terrifyingly healthy. If I had a bad day, Steven didn't complain that I was killing his vibe. He ran a bath for me and poured me a glass of wine. When he was stressed with work, he didn't disappear to a club. He sat on the couch with his head in my lap, talking to me about his fears. We were partners. Equals. Through the sporadic chatter of the comments, I learned the fate of Jake and Ryan. Without me there to act as the buffer, the reality of Jake and Ryan's toxic codependency set in. Ryan finally got what he wanted, Jake, all to himself. But Ryan quickly realized that being Jake's partner wasn't about wearing fancy watches and partying. It was about cleaning up vomit. It was about dealing with a man-child who threw tantrums when his clothes weren't ironed. One night, the comments exploded with a play-by-play. Holy shit, drama at the club. Jake just found out Ryan purposely deleted MC's messages on the night of the birthday party. Jake is destroying the VIP room. He just threw a bottle at Ryan. Ryan is crying, saying he did it because he loved him. Jake told him he disgusts him. The friend group is completely fractured. I read the updates while sitting by the fireplace in Steven's penthouse, a book in my lap. What's making you smile? Steven asked, walking into the living room and handing me a mug of hot cider. He pressed a kiss to my temple, lingering there. Just reading a good story, I murmured, leaning into his touch. The villain finally got what was coming to him, and the idiot realized he ruined his own life. Steven hummed, sitting next to me and pulling my legs over his lap. He began to casually massage my calves. Sounds like a tragedy for them, but what about the protagonist? Does he get a happy ending? I looked at Steven. His dark eyes were filled with such profound, unwavering adoration that it still took my breath away. Yes, I said softly. The protagonist realizes that he never needed to manage anyone. He just needed to be loved. 6 months later, my firm hosted a massive gala to celebrate a record-breaking quarter. I was the lead consultant on the project, meaning I was the man of the hour. I stood in front of the ballroom mirror, adjusting my tie. I was wearing a bespoke midnight blue tuxedo that Steven had gifted me. On my wrist sat a vintage, slim Patek Philippe with a leather strap, elegant, light, and perfectly suited to me. You look breathtaking, Steven's voice came from the doorway. He walked up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist and resting his chin on my shoulder. You don't look so bad yourself, Mr. Song, I teased, leaning back against his solid chest. Are you ready? He asked, his tone shifting to something more serious. The guest list was public. I saw the names. I knew what he meant. Jake's family's company was a minor sponsor of the event. Jake was going to be there. I'm ready, I said. He's just a ghost, Steven. We walked into the ballroom together. The evening was a triumph. Colleagues shook my hand. Industry leaders offered me their business cards, and through it all, Steven stood by my side, radiating quiet pride. An hour into the event, I went to the bar to get us fresh drinks. Alex. I didn't flinch. I slowly turned around. Jake stood there. If he looked bad in the rain 6 months ago, he looked like a walking corpse now. He was painfully thin, his suit hanging off his frame. His eyes were deeply sunken, filled with a desperate, manic sorrow. There was no Ryan by his side. From what the comments had told me, Jake had ousted Ryan from his life entirely, and the rest of the friend group had abandoned Jake because his alcoholism had become unbearable. Jake, I acknowledged smoothly, my voice devoid of any emotion. You look. Jake choked on his words, tears instantly welling in his eyes. You look beautiful. I've missed you so much, Alex. Every day. Every single day. Are you here representing your father's company? I asked politely, the way one speaks to a stranger. Stop it. Please stop talking to me like that, Jake begged, taking a step closer. He looked around frantically. I changed, Alex. I haven't taken a drink in 2 months. I kicked Ryan out. I go to therapy. I'm learning how to cook. I bought a rice cooker.
I
I tried to make the porridge you used to make. It tasted like ash, but I ate it. I did it for you. He reached out, trying to grab my hand. I stepped back, out of his reach. That's great, Jake, I said, my voice gentle but terrifyingly firm. I'm glad you're taking care of yourself.
But you didn't do it for me.
You did it because you hit rock bottom. I am not your reward for acting like a functioning adult. But I love you, he sobbed, oblivious to the stares of the wealthy patrons around us. I know I was a monster. I know I took you for granted. But I love you. I can't live without you. Please just give me one more chance. Let me be the one to take care of you this time. At that moment, Stephen appeared. He handed me my drink, slipping his free arm around my waist, pulling me flush against his side. He didn't even look at Jake. Everything all right, darling? Stephen asked me. Everything's fine. I smiled up at Stephen. Jake let out a wounded, guttural sound. He looked at Stephen's hand on my waist, then at the matching platinum rings we had quietly placed on each other's fingers 2 weeks ago during a private vacation in Kyoto. Jake's eyes widened in horror. No, you didn't. Alex, no. Goodbye, Jake, I said. I turned away from him, walking back into the crowd with my husband. As the music swelled and the lights glittered around us, the final flurry of comments drifted across my vision, shining brighter than ever before. The absolute ultimate face-slapping ending. Jake is shattered into a million pieces, and MC didn't even raise his voice. That's power. Stephen is the king. Best male lead in the history of this trope. October 10th, no notes. I'm crying happy tears. Farewell, MC. Be happy. The glowing letters slowly dissolved into the air like gold dust, fading away completely. The strange system of readers was gone. The story they had been reading was over. But my story, the real one, was just beginning. I looked up at Stephen. He caught my gaze, his eyes softening as he pulled me onto the dance floor. He swayed us to the gentle jazz music, his hand warm against my spine. You're smiling again, Stephen whispered, kissing my forehead. I was just thinking, I murmured, resting my head against his chest, listening to the steady, reliable beat of his heart. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be,